we play a game?
Why, yes. I believe we shall.
Oh, I got a live one here.
Live from Little Rock, it's Shane Plays Geek Talk, which is both a talk radio show and a podcast. I'm your host, Shane Stacks. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm also joined by a friend of the show and all-around cool dude, Stuart Berryhill. What's up, Stuart?
Not a lot, Shane. How are you doing
Man,
today?
I'm glad to have you back on. There's a lot of folks I try to rotate back into the show and that are just cool to hang out with and good to have on the show and represent a very good spectrum of different geekdoms and whatnot. And so I've been looking for a reason to have you back on. Now, you are a comic artist with an emphasis on inking, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and today's guest, who should be coming on at 1:30, is Kevin Eastman, the co-creator of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah.
Who has this very cool project right now called Drawing Blood, which is, I'll let him describe it. I don't know if it's autobiographical or not, but it's pretty crazy talking about fictionalizing true stories that have happened to people in the comic book industry, like crazy stuff. So
there's a lot of those stories.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with all of that. But I thought it'd be fun to have you on the show today while we have Kevin. Zach, of course, engineer without equal, is pressing all the buttons in there and making stuff happen. Hey, Zach, how's it going today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Man, glad to have you. So, folks, this is, as I said, it's Shane Plays Geek Talk. It's live talk radio, but it's also a podcast. So we go out a few days after the live show as a podcast. If you're listening at 1 o'clock on Saturday, that's 1 p.m. Central, that is. That's Saturday, August 19th on 96.5 FM, The Answer in the Little Rock, Central Arkansas Metro, or online at 96.5 FM, theanswer.com. Glad to have you. And if you're listening live, you can call in at 501-823-0965. That's 501-823-0965. Or you can tweet me at Shane Plays. If you want to talk to me or Stuart, or if you want to say hi to Kevin Eastman when he comes on, when he joins the show at 1:30. So last week's show, like I said, we do go out as a podcast after the live show. Last week's show had Michael Whitwer and John Peterson on, and we were talking about what if D&D had never been published? And it was like the Twilight Zone. What would it have looked like? And that was a really cool show. They're, of course, at Gen Con this weekend, having a lot of fun down there. The show goes out as a podcast on the blog at shaneplays.com, iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, and more. And we're also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/GoShanePlays. In addition to all kinds of other videos, I also put the show up, just the audio of the show up there on YouTube, and some people listen that way. And last but never least, Shane Plays is carried on Krypton Radio. Krypton Radio is sci-fi for your Wi-Fi. KryptonRadio.com. We are played a week delayed on Krypton Radio, I think on Saturdays and Mondays. So it's been a crazy week in America. And one of the reasons I like to do the geek stuff, I mean, I'm actually politically minded and politically engaged, but the geek stuff is when I try to take a break from all that. So let's just have fun for the next hour. You know, real life is still out there and it matters, but let's just have fun for an hour. So get into it. Stuart, what you been up to, man?
Oh, just work, drawing, hanging out with the kids.
And you said you actually do have some projects right now that you quite don't want to talk about yet, but you got some stuff you're working on?
Yeah, I want to get it finished and get it cleaned up and have something to really kind of drop down so I can show a whole thing before I go, hey, look at this.
Yeah, look at this. Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it and make sure that I know about it when it comes along. So, Zach, you're a big movie fan. What have you seen lately? You're always watching the movies.
I actually haven't been to the movies lately.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was the last movie you saw?
I think it was Atomic Blonde and Detroit.
Yeah.
Those two films.
Detroit. Detroit actually looked really good to me.
It was really good. Mm-hmm.
That looked like a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, here's what we're going to do while we're waiting on Kevin Eastman to join us at 1:30, middle of the hour. I got some geek news that I rounded up here that I thought me and Stuart could talk about. So first of all, I want to let people know that if Stuart, are you a Doctor Who fan?
Oh yeah.
Are you a RIFFTRAX / MST3K fan?
I used to watch MST3K back in the day.
Well, RIFFTRAX is some of the same people.
Okay.
And it's not exactly MST3K, but it's the same thing. Now, last Thursday, the 14th, I think it was, 17th, And this next coming up Thursday, which gee, it sure would help if I had a calendar in front of me. Yeah, it was August 17th and 24th. You know how they do those Fathom events where you go to the theater and they'll show like maybe a TV show, but you watch it on the big screen, or they'll simulcast. Okay. Yeah. They're doing a RIFFTRAX of a Doctor Who, like a classic Doctor Who. And it's the 5 doctors from the early 80s when they got all 5 doctors together in this big anniversary show. And so the RIFFTRAX in that. So on one hand, I'm like, man, you can't RIFFTRAX Doctor Who. But on the other hand, I'm really looking forward to seeing it. So this past on the 17th, it was live, and they're replaying it on the 24th this Thursday. And I'm going to go with my lovely wife and a couple other friends and check that out on the 24th. So people, if you want to see classic Doctor Who on the big screen being skewered by the RIFFTRAX folks, that is definitely out there. I'm looking forward to it. So, I'm curious to see, because I love Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who, but I also have to admit it's campy. It can be very campy just due to the time that it was done. So I'm curious to see what they do with it. As far if they at least are nice to it at all, or if they just completely obliterate it. So, all right, are you a William Gibson fan at all?
No.
Okay.
I don't know much about him.
Okay, well, he wrote Neuromancer, and he wrote Mona Lisa Overdrive, and he wrote Count Zero. He really, on his own, he almost invented the cyberpunk genre.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and his first full-length novel was Neuromancer, and that's being adapted into the Hollywood Reporter is reporting that that's going to be adapted into a motion picture, a movie, as it were, by the director of Deadpool.
And I've seen there are a lot of people online that seem to be really interested in that and excited.
I'm excited because I read all those books. I love pure cyberpunk. That kind of, there was a
Shadowrun.
Now Shadowrun has cyberpunk elements, but it's not pure cyberpunk because that RPG game system smashed in high fantasy with it. So you have orcs and magic and this and that and the other.
Bigfoot and
Yeah, but running the net and there was, I don't know, cyberpunk, the pure cyberpunk, probably the closest thing to a pure cyberpunk movie we've ever gotten, mainstream anyway, would be Johnny Mnemonic with not Johnny Depp.
It was
Keanu Reeves, yeah. But that didn't really capture the essence. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with this. But anyway, that article is courtesy of the Hollywood Reporter. Deadpool director Tim Miller is going to adapt Neuromancer. I'm really curious to see what they do with it. It was the 1984 cyberpunk novel written by William Gibson. In fact, William Gibson, little known trivia, coined the term cyberspace. He's the one who actually came up with the term cyberspace.
Wow.
And this sort of concept of like literally jacking into the net with like this cable in behind your skull and seeing the internet as like this 3-dimensional representation, and you have an avatar and all that. He was the first, if not one of the first people to really bring that out. So that's why a lot of people you're probably seeing are like, hey, I'm excited about this, as long as it doesn't have a cameo by Deadpool, because that would not fit the genre. I'm sorry. It won't work.
A little icon floating in the back.
Yeah, a little Deadpool icon floating in the back. Got some other, this isn't movies, this is more TV. A lot of people are probably excited about this as well. There was a book written in the 90s, and it was a collaboration between Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett. Of course, yep. Neil Gaiman, of course, everyone knows Neil Gaiman. Terry Pratchett is all of the Discworld stuff, right? Very well known. Well, they did this collaboration on a book called Good Omens.
Great book.
Yeah, where the apocalypse is coming.
Right.
And an angel and a demon who've grown fond of...
Right, they're like best friends.
Yeah, they're like, we can't let the earth in.
We're having too much fun.
Yeah, we're having too much fun, right. So that it's a TV show. I think, is it Amazon? Let me see. I've got an article here from comingsoon.net, and it's cast David Tennant from Doctor Who, of course, and he was also the Purple Man on
Killraven on
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones, yeah. Yep. So, anyway, David Tennant's great. I'm pretty sure he's playing the demon. And then there's an actor I'm not as familiar with named Michael Sheen, who is going to play the angel. And it takes place in 2018 when the apocalypse is near and final judgment is set to descend upon humanity. According to the nice and accurate prophecies of Agnes Nutter, which the world's only completely accurate book of prophecies, the world will end on a Saturday, next Saturday, in fact, just before dinner. So these two band together. And I'm pretty sure this is an Amazon series. I want to make sure. Yeah, Amazon Studios. So this is going to be it's an hour-long comedy limited series.
Right.
So the book was good. My favorite thing I remember from the book was that the M25, which is this circular highway that runs around London, was actually like this sigil, like this demonic sigil. It's spell sigil or something like that. So it's full of a lot of fun stuff like that. So that's another one that a lot of people seem to be excited about. So you read the book then?
Yeah, I read it when it came out.
Yeah, I read it way back in the 90s.
Time ago.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. What was fun, I was actually living in England when it came out. I was on an Air Force base.
Oh, cool.
So it was fun to read that in England because it's set.
Because you knew where they were talking about.
Yeah, I knew what they were talking about. Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, yeah, that was a lot of fun. Now, I'm going to hazard a guess here, Stuart, that you may like Star Wars.
Just a bit.
Just a bit. Okay.
Tiny bit, yeah.
So I've got some Star Wars movie news here. You may have already seen some of this stuff. You may not have. All of this, I've got multiple articles here from comicbook.com. It was just one article came out after another. And you know how they're doing these spin-off movies. Like you've got the main trilogy, right?
Right.
Or the new trilogy, which is Force Awakens and Last Jedi. And I can't remember. I don't think they've given a title to Star Wars 9 yet.
Blue Milk.
Blue Milk, yeah. Blue Milk, the expiration date.
There you go.
The expert. Yeah, we come to the expiration date on the Blue Milk, right? So, but they have all these side movies, right? We got Rogue One, which was fantastic, really good. There's a Han Solo movie coming, which is, they've already the first. There were co-directors that are gone now, and now Ron Howard is directing the Han Solo movie, and now they're confirming. You want to take a guess on some of the characters that are getting their own movies?
I would suppose somebody like Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan Kenobi movie is confirmed to be in development. That's all. We don't know. And then there's Billy Elliot and The Hours director Stephen Daldry is reportedly in talks to direct. These are the articles I have here from comicbook.com, but I'm sure you can find this stuff in other places. The plans for the film are still in the early stages with no script in place yet. So that's the point. They're like, okay, we're going to do it. Right. But, what is it going to be? And it's speculated that the director would both develop and write the film. So I'm more jazzed about that than I am Han Solo. Han Solo is great and everything, but I think there's some characters that actually work better if you don't know their whole past.
Right.
Right. And I think Han Solo's kind of one of those characters, but if they want to make a movie and if it's enjoyable and all that, go for it.
Right.
But by established Star Wars canon, he was just an Imperial.
He was a TIE pilot, wasn't he?
Pilot or something like that, who had too much of how the Empire was doing and defected, or didn't even defect, just left.
Rescued Chewbacca.
Yeah, he rescued Chewie, and split. Yeah. So that was kind of the story, but whatever. But it sounds like with the movie they're doing for Han Solo, they're trying to make the younger, barely teenage Han Solo kind of a scoundrel. So I don't know. But Obi-Wan Kenobi is my favorite Jedi. Hands down. Love Obi-Wan Kenobi. The dude beat Darth Vader in his prime and then allowed himself to be taken down so that he could go be a Force ghost and guide Luke, right? He dropped down. My favorite Obi-Wan Kenobi movie moment ever was in Revenge of the Sith when General Grievous and all the bad guys are in that little hangar thing or whatever, and he drops out of the ceiling, and he's like, just drops right in the middle of them. And is like, all right, let's go. And I'm like, that's boom.
I got one complaint about that.
What? No.
You said he defeated Darth Vader in his prime.
Absolutely.
In his prime at 24 years old. That was his prime.
That's when he had the most, midichlorians in his body. And
When
But
he
he was
defeated, all right, Zach, when he
Yes.
defeated Anakin, Darth Vader on Mustafar,
Yes.
Anakin was in his prime.
At his best.
Yes, he was there because after that he's locked into that
Really.
that suit
That cage.
that cage that's like a life support suit and also kind of hinders him somewhat.
So he was at his best at 24 years old.
Dude rolled up in the Jedi Temple and wiped everybody out.
Yes, but he still was not at his best.
He was at his prime.
Come on.
He was at his prime.
Come on.
Obi-Wan rolled a critical, all right?
Yeah.
Obi-Wan had 10 years on him of experience.
He was at his prime as being Darth Vader. I guarantee. What? Where else was he supposed to be better?
He was going to get better,
But
but
he
that was
didn't.
not his best.
He beat Darth Vader at his best. Anybody out there calling want to agree to 501-823-0965.
You know who a movie I'd like to see?
He beat Darth Maul after Darth Maul beat Qui-Gon.
Oh, yeah.
All right, anyway, what movie do you want to see?
I'd like to see a Lando movie. I want to know how he got the Falcon
I'd
in the
rather
first
get
place.
Lando than a Han Solo movie, actually.
As long as Han's in the Lando
well, I
movie,
think
I want to see that.
I think Lando is in the Han movie, if I'm not mistaken. They cast an actor.
Oh,
Zach
see?
actually did the "oh-foo" hand movement to me through the window when I said this. I contend that when he dropped Darth Vader on Mustafar, that Darth was okay.
No.
Mm-mm. So
he was going to get better.
All right.
He was just 24 years. That's like saying LeBron James.
When he was a Padawan, he beat Darth Maul, who just dropped Qui-Gon Jinn.
True.
That's what I'm saying.
Mhm.
Then he beat Anakin.
Impressive.
Then he let Anakin beat him on the Death Star. Then he dropped in and took General Grievous out in the middle of like 800,000 bad guys.
He beat a puppy in Anakin Skywalker. A puppy. Just 24 years old. That's like saying LeBron James at 23 was the best. Come on.
Okay. All right.
Now
he was physically at his best.
Now I want to see a LeBron James versus Darth Vader match.
Yeah, that would be good too. Okay, Zach. You know what, Zach? You are welcome to your opinion on Star Wars, no matter how wrong it may be.
Okay.
Zach's they're getting mad. I'll hope somebody will email or call in or tweet or something and give me their opinion on this. But anyway, Obi-Wan Kenobi's a bad mamma jamma. Can we just leave it at that? Is that okay? Can we agree on that? I want an Obi-Wan movie. And I hope somehow they figure out a way to put Ewan McGregor in it, because I really like Ewan McGregor as
He's
Obi-Wan
at the
Kenobi.
perfect age now, isn't he?
Yeah. Depends on where they set
right.
You know, where they set it at. So anyway, other characters that are getting the Star Wars standalone movies. This is also from comicbook.net. I mean, I can barely even talk right now because Zach is so he's unleashed his Padawan opinion and thrown off my swerve. My swerve is thrown off, Zach.
I tell you what, I would like to see a Darth Vader film after Mustafar.
That would be good.
That's what I would like to see. His struggle to become
that would be great.
The menace he became.
There's a book that did that, but most of the books have been wiped away.
Right.
Yeah, but there is a book that told that story of him, trying to come to terms with, living in that life support and all that stuff. So Boba Fett is evidently going to get a standalone movie, and Yoda is going to get a standalone movie.
Boba Fett, yeah. I'm not sure if I'm hyper about the Yoda movie.
Yeah, I don't know. And then also, supposedly, Jabba the Hutt. So
that's funny.
I'm just, yeah. Supposedly Jabba the Hutt.
Shouldn't he get a workout video?
Yeah. He'll just be him sitting on.
It's a Wonga Wookiee.
Watch out on Wonga Whoopie. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody that gives him lips, he just drops down into the Rancor pit, and we're done.
Yeah, there you go.
You know who needs his own movie?
Who's that?
The Sarlacc. We need to know where the Sarlacc came from.
It's got like 1,000 years of history.
What his motivation was. What his favorite food is.
It's like a national or a worldwide monument on Tatooine.
It
right?
really is. I think that we need the Sarlacc needs it. The Rancor needs its own movie. The Sarlacc needs its own movie. the third Ewok from the left on that one scene in Return of the Jedi needs its own movie.
The sad Ewok.
Yeah.
I love them.
I'm telling you. Man, the Jawa who said Utini needs his own movie.
Eventually, right?
Yeah, eventually.
Fan fiction.
This is my fear. Well, fear is too strong of a word, but this is my concern with putting out a lot of Star Wars movies. I'm sure they'll be good, but sooner or later there's going to have to be a stinker.
Right.
And it up till now, when a Star Wars movie comes out, that's a special thing. And we're going to lose that.
True.
We're going to lose that.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, we'll get more Star Wars, right? But we're going to lose the specialness, the event that has been Star Wars, right?
Standing in line and waiting to get in. And
the Dejarak, whatever that game is, the 3-dimensional holographic chess thing that they play on, that's going to get its own movie. The hovering ball that zapped Luke Skywalker in the butt is going to get its own movie. The droid that treated Luke Skywalker on Hoth, the medical droid, is going to get his own movie. Yep.
You might as well give Darth Vader's lightsaber in its own movie.
It's just going to get its own movie.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
How about the tree on Hoth? Not Hoth.
That would actually be interesting.
The tree on Dagobah.
To get a movie on how did it come to be in the dark side or whatever.
Or like a game show where you just throw people in that tree and see
what happens. Yeah. There you go. Now, see, I'd watch that. I'd watch that.
Oh, I'd be on that. That'd be great.
All right. And then finally, got one. I got a cool little news item in here, and then we'll get to a break and hopefully get Mr. Kevin Eastman on. You remember how, Stuart? Do you remember in E.T. at the very beginning of the movie they're playing D&D? You remember that? And they won't let Elliot play or something, so he calls his brother a bad name and all that.
Right.
Originally, there's an article here I have from Geek Tyrant that originally, it's not from Geek Tyrant. Where did this this news article go? Have I gotten myself confused? That's entirely possible that I've gotten. Yeah, it is from Geek Tyrant. The original ending to Steven Spielberg's movie also involved a game of Dungeons and Dragons. So originally, you can go see the footage on this link. Go to Geek Tyrant. I'll have it linked on the show notes for people who watch this by podcast or on Krypton Radio. After E.T. left and all that, it shows them playing D&D again, but yet Elliot is the dungeon master. And it's kind of showing all the events have kind of brought him into the group with his brother and all that, showing how things have changed. And then so they're playing D&D and Elliot is the DM. And then they kind of do this fade out where they go up to the roof and it shows the E.T.'s little communicator thing he made to phone home is still functioning, implying that Elliot and E.T. are still kind of communicating. But they cut it because the emotional power of cutting it right after, the aliens leave and the big ship was just too powerful, right? And what's also interesting is for the kids to be in the E.T. movie, part of the audition process is they went to Harrison Ford's house and played D&D. It's all in the article.
With Harrison Ford?
Yeah, at Harrison Ford's house they were playing D&D. I don't know what the connection was there, but there's some video. There's a video linked from YouTube on the article at Geek Tyrant that shows, that a lot of that stuff. So, and everyone's like, I just think it's neat, right? It's another little piece of 80s history.
Man.
And it's another, because there's D&D is so much in the news right now that, it's another feather basically in D&D's cap. So pretty neat.
I had no idea.
I didn't either. But yeah, I
like that ending a lot better too.
I like the ending showing they're still in contact and showing the different relationship with him and his brother now and everything. But they just decided not to go with that. But the footage is still out there.
Well, to be realistic, if Elliot were the DM, he would have to kill all their characters to get back at them, right?
That's right.
There.
Yeah. And I still, one of the moments for which I weep is that, hold on a second. Hey, Zach, go ahead and try to call Kevin and see if we can get him. But one of the things for which I weep is one of the most powerful scenes in a movie to me in the 80s was when the kids are going down the hill on the bikes and the guys pull the guns on them and then E.T. makes it fly, right? All the bikes fly over the guns.
Right.
You know how they changed it, right? Oh, it's sad. So they re-released it, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that. And Spielberg went in and fiddled around with some of the stuff, and he changed the guns to walkie-talkies.
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
It takes away the whole power of the scene. Right?
Isn't that going back to like the Doctor Who 50th year anniversary special where they're pointing their sonics at the guys in the forest, and he's like, "What are you going to do? Assemble a cabinet at them?"
You're going to assemble a cabinet at them? Exactly. It completely takes away the entire. Okay, we've got Kevin on the line. Let's go to. We do have Kevin Eastman on the line. We're going to cut to a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have Kevin Eastman, co-creator of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but he's going to be talking about a very cool project he's doing, graphic novel project called Drawing Blood. Go ahead and take us to a break, Zach.
The smell of mildew emanates from wet stone walls. The only choices before you are to enter the door to the north or travel back up the stairs from whence you came.
Okay. I go to the door to the north.
In this room you encounter an event promoter.
Arkansas RPG Con is the Arkansas convention for all tabletop role-playing games. Arkansas RPG Con will be held on Saturday, October 21st at the Gene Moss Building, located at 913 East Sevier Street in Benton, Arkansas. Early bird tickets are just $7, so visit arpgcon.com for all the details about Arkansas RPG Con.
Okay. Well, I guess I go to Arkansas RPG Con.
Yeah, that does sound pretty fun.
Comic book lovers, visit thewildstars.com today. From the mind of author and comic book industry expert Michael Tierney, it's not just a comic book, it's a comic book novel. The Wild Stars is sci-fi and so much more. Learn the explanations behind UFOs and space gods. This isn't the Twilight Zone. This is the region of the Milky Way galaxy known as the Wild Stars. We guarantee you've never read anything like it. The complete comic book novel took 20 years to tell, with one reviewer noting, the story of the Wild Stars stretches ambitiously across space and time, from small-town murders to the destruction of planets, with every event given multiple layers of meaning. If you haven't read The Wild Stars, you're missing out. Visit thewildstars.com today.
The die is cast.
Plunge into worlds of fantastic adventure where dragons lie and the undead stalk the shades of your mind's imagines. Where creatures of legend plunder wealth through the horror of their passage. Monsters grim and foul hold the ecstasy of gold and the renown of glory. All this and more awaits you and your friends in the unlimited, fantastic world of the Castles and Crusades role-playing game from Trollord Games. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy today. A rules-light, adaptable game that has stood the test of time. 12 years in constant publication with no new additions. Castles and Crusades is the original, easy-to-play attribute check system. Join us and unleash your imagination. Visit your friendly local game store or Trollord.com to get your copy of Castles and Crusades today. Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.
Hey, welcome back to Shane Plays Geek Talk, which is both a talk radio show live and then a podcast. So, because I love both formats, but welcome back. This is a journey into the things we love right here on Shane Plays. Folks, you can call, if you're listening live, you can call 501-823-0965. That's 501-823-0965. Or you can tweet me at Shane Plays. We've got a great guest on the phone. As a reminder, friend of the show and comics artist and inker Stuart Berryhill is joining me. We've been talking geek news, but now we've got Kevin Eastman on the line. And if by some chance you don't know, if you're listening to this show, Geek Talk Radio, and you don't know who Kevin Eastman is, I don't know what happened, but I'll tell you quickly. Kevin Eastman is among other things, he was one of the driving forces and the co-creator behind a little property known as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But that's not all he does or has done. And he's got a cool new project that we're going to be talking about today. But with no further ado, Kevin, are you there?
I am here, sir. I'm so happy to be here. Happy Saturday.
Yeah, same to you. Thanks for making time to come on. I was really intrigued by your Kickstarter, and I was like, I really want to talk to Kevin and also help make people aware of this project. So, I mentioned, you are one of the co-creators of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I know in recent years you've come back with IDW Publishing and done some work with the Turtles, if I'm mistaken. So you're still somewhat involved with them, but that's not all you do. So before we talk about your Kickstarter project, are there any other projects or anything that you're doing right now that you want to make sure people know about?
No, actually, probably the thing I'm the most proud of, it's funny when I've had such an amazing year, actually a lot of amazing years, thanks to so many awesome fans. But I was, just thinking the other day, I was telling somebody, I've been a fan of comics and then actually been in the comic business for almost 50 years. 50 years.
Wow.
So I'm, and I still, to this day, I still go to, I got my comic store I hit every week, and just been a fan of this nutty little industry since for my whole life. So the fact that I not only get to continue to be a fan, I get to work in it and have a lot of fun.
That is
the
really
Turtles
cool.
are going to be 34 years old next year.
Yeah, I remember when they first came out. I mean, I remember, when with the indie was indie then. I mean, you had Marvel and DC, a little bit of Dark Horse, and then you had, the real indie scene. And I remember when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out, and then you had a slew of knockoffs almost immediately, like Radioactive Adolescent Black Belt Hamsters and all this other stuff. But nobody's ever matched the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So
we've
been incredibly lucky. And first and foremost, I also love to give it up to my co-creator partner Peter Laird. Without him and without us sharing the mutual dream of wanting to be quote unquote Jack Kirby. We were both Jack Kirby fans growing up, and when we met, we were inspired by I was a fan of underground comics, self-publishers back in the day from Kitchen Sink Press and Rip-Off Press and the Fat-Boys Furry Freak Brothers and things like that. And I remember clearly in the late 70s picking up this comic that blew my mind. It was Cerebus the Aardvark. Started, I think it's 76.
Yep.
And that was really, I think, the start of this whole new movement and change in comics. That, like I said, there'd been undergrounds and some self-publishing. Wendy and Richard Pini with ElfQuest, of course, and that kind of thing. But both Peter and I were really enamored by this and Dave's, mission, to be creator-owned, to be in control of your character, control of your destiny, control of, what you do and what you want to publish. Because a lot of the guys that like Jack Kirby that inspired us and so many others that didn't get to share in the direction or the control or even the profits of their creation. So that was really inspiring. So when we, Pete and I started the typical route where, we'd submit, samples to Marvel and DC and some of the other publishers and got the appropriate, huge stack of rejection letters. And when we came up with the Turtles sort of late one night in 1983, we said, look, let's follow some of these new pioneers and let's publish it ourselves. We did our own version of crowdfunding, if you will. We borrowed money from a few family members.
Hey, Dad. Yeah. Well, it worked out. It was unfortunately, there's a lot of people that chase their dreams and borrow money or whatever, and it doesn't work out. And I hate that, but it's true. But in your case, it worked out, and I'm very glad. And like I said, I don't want to spend a lot of time on the Turtles. I'll just relate one quick anecdote to you that hopefully will make you feel good. My son is not quite 4. He'll be 4 in October. He's basically 3.5. And we went to a fast food joint the other day, and he got the kids' meal, and it came with a little Raphael in it. And he doesn't know anything about the Turtles, but he was instantly drawn to and totally into Raphael. Wanted Raphael to sleep in the bed that night. So those characters you came with are very appealing, And go ahead.
Well, that's what's so mind blowing, to be honest. So when I say things like the Turtles are going to be 34 years old next year, but that is it's amazing to me that it worked in the first place. It really is, and we have quite simply nothing. We can't thank the fans enough that supported it in the early days. And then, as it went on to do the cartoons and movies and things like that, and, although I sold my interest in it probably almost 20 years ago, this latest resurgence when Viacom bought the property and started with the new Nickelodeon show and licensed to IDW the new comic books, suddenly I was starting to spend, and loving every minute of it, I was spending almost as much time on the Turtles over the last 5 or 6 years than I did originally back when it first took off. And that's what's crazy is, like, first, we found yourself, fans like you that are now late 20s, early 30s from the original series. And again, mind-blowing that it worked the first time around. And now with this resurgence, when we go to conventions, because Courtney and I, we do about 15 shows a year, sometimes more. But now we're seeing, original fans like yourself with a specific, I call it well-loved item, whether it's an old toy or a comic book they had since their child signing that. But then their son and daughter discover the new Turtles, and they're fans, and it's like, holy smokes, something clicked and something worked and something resonates with these crazy characters that really started as a joke,
Y'all call it lightning in your pen, lightning in a bottle. And I would encourage people who are listening, go back and read the original Turtles, because the characters are the same, but it's not like the 80s cartoon or whatever. And I'm not down on that, because I enjoyed watching the 80s cartoon, but there was a sophistication and a maturity to the storytelling that you might not expect based on some of the other materials that have come out based on the Turtles, is what I'm saying. I mean, it's I hate to use the word gritty because that's such a buzzword that was thrown around in the 80s, but it's a different level of storytelling that people might expect.
Well, thanks. First, and again, blessings a million times over, but, back in those days, it was, we were so fortunate that Pete and I wrote the stories that we wanted to read, and we wrote the kind of stories we wanted to tell, and it did have a grittiness to it, because, it wasn't over the top, but it wasn't, we wrote what we felt was appropriate, stuff that we enjoyed as material, and that's what kind of resonated, which was awesome. But those early stories will always be my favorite, and I love them dearly. And then, as that transitioned into the cartoon show, which was the real exposure. Most people were introduced to the Turtles through the cartoon show. I came out in 1988, but we knew at that point we were writing for a much younger audience, a very specific audience. So we softened up so many things, changed the colors of the bandanas and softened up some of the violence issues. And because you can't have 4 heavily armed turtles running around hacking people up on Saturday morning TV, so we made, like, the foot soldiers were made into robots and things like that.
Right.
But no, it's funny that the fact that we were able to transition to that, having full control to be to allow that to happen. Everything that happened, especially Pete and I worked on all the original movies, all 300 cartoon episodes we designed and worked on all the original toy designs, things like that. But it was fascinating and again quite a blessing. Something that a lot of creators don't get to enjoy those kind of rights with their characters. So
cool, yeah,
very fortunate.
Very cool. So Stuart, I'm about to move us over into Drawing Blood. Did you have any questions or comments on the Turtles?
I miss Fugitoid.
Fugitoid. We love Fugitoid.
I know. I loved him too.
Well, that's, it's been fun. What's been so cool about the IDW comic series that we've been doing with the incredible Tom Waltz, who's the head writer, he's the main series editor, being so creative in his own right. What he brings to the series is that we could never repeat what, say, Pete and I did in the early days, but tonally and attitude-wise and content-wise, the IDW series is the closest that fans will ever come to that original series. It's written, it's got an edge to it. It's intended for a bit more mature audiences, and that kind of thing. And we get to go through the different turtle landscapes from multiple Turtle universes from the black and white, the original animated shows and things like that, and bring characters like Fugitoid back and Bebop and Rocksteady and, put them into what we call the IDW Turtle universe because it is, unique into itself. So it's fun to have those characters continue on in this new series.
Well, and you've had a few Game of Thrones moments in the new series too, haven't you?
Oh, yes.
That's one way to put it. Huh?
I need to go read these. I read
They're good.
There was a year or two ago, there was a Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover that I read that was really good, but I haven't read any of the ongoing TMNT right now. But anyway, I want to make sure to give Kevin, he's graciously offered his time on a Saturday. I want to make sure to talk about Drawing Blood, So, Kevin, unless there's anything else you want to, and feel free if you want to add anything else on the Turtles, you can. If not, I'll move us over into Drawing Blood.
Sure, well, we can circle back to that if anything comes up, because it is kind of, it's intertwined. I mean, Drawing Blood really as a concept came out of, like I said, my nearly 50 years in comic books, initially the first 10 years or so being a fan, and then, as Pete and I did the original issues with the Turtles, and that, exposed us to, a lot of different things, whether it be conventions and fan stories, but more importantly, other creators that were out there making their way, from Dave Sims to Alan Moore's and Frank Miller's and other people that were experiencing lots of different parts of not only what was going on in the comic series and the comic world as, more creator-owned material was coming available, but also a lot of this material was transitioning to entertainment. So my favorite part of like going to a show back in those days was like, would end up with it in the hotel bar afterwards and swapping horror stories with Fett, and again, and so there was so many fascinating stories and people had so many similar experiences that, it's almost like if people talk about it, I don't think a lot of people would believe, really? That really happened? Really?
Like, yep.
So with Drawing Blood, what I wanted to do was sort of take a lot of all those experiences, because a lot of people ask, what they say, is Drawing Blood autobiographical? And it's like, it is to like about a 10% level.
That was actually 90%. One of my questions. I would say, what percentage? Because when you're reading this, you're like, okay, how much of this is Kevin Eastman's life? Because there's actually, and I'm not implying that Kevin Eastman hit this level, but there's some comic book creator out there, evidently somewhere, who got off into like drug deals and finds himself like in a shootout. And I'm like, I'm really hoping that's not Kevin.
Only one?
Yeah, well, that's the fun part of it. We said this is an absolutely true fictional story.
Right.
I've never been in a gunfight. I hope I never get in a gunfight. But we wanted to set the idea, David Avalone is the co-creator, and it's based on the original concept came out of, I used to keep these sketchbook diaries, and it would be things that, either was happening to me or I would make notes about like some funny story that Howard Chaykin's told me or so on and so on. So we sort of, so this biographical sense, my component in it makes about 10%, and then the rest of it is sort of not only based on other stories I've heard directly from people of their experiences, not only in comics, with fans, with publishers, their experiences with Hollywood. And it was such a fantastical basis to tell a story from that I sort of sat back and I said, well, look, what if I put together this idea, this character that created a kid's character, became really famous, and then sort of fell down on his luck. The characters were sold, and he's lost kind of his mojo. But if I took a little, say, Breaking Bad, a little Spinal Tap, a little, one of my favorite movies is one called Amadeus, about Amadeus Mozart.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, so we create this fictional character that lives and exists. I mean, even in the world of Drawing Blood, I exist as a person in that. So everything you know, we all know about comic books, exists. It's a real thriving world. But this is just one fictional story about a guy that sort of his rise and fall and his quest to regain that dream through some really crazy experiences. Again, that's the sort of this whole Breaking Bad kind of thing. There's gangsters. There's Lithuanian gangsters. There's guns, girls, drugs.
Just like a real comic book artist in professional life. Take any comic book professional, and this is a page from their life.
Exactly. So, but it's a really fun platform. I can't recall any other comic series that was actually based in the world of comic books.
Right.
In our stories that evolves, talks about some of his experiences in Hollywood. He goes to comic conventions. His characters that he created are radically rearranged Ronin Ragdolls, which is 3 female samurai cats characters. And so that's got a huge fan base, again, in Shane Bookman's world. He's being brought into the fandom. Hollywood's taken over. They're making a movie that he doesn't really care about. He thinks it's really stupid, but he's still got all these hardcore fans that want him to come back to the series, but he can't find his motive to draw it. At the same time, he's dealing with, ex-wives and, but his big ploy, at least in the story, is he wants to bring back, he thinks his comeback is going to be, he's directing a stage play, Metropolis. It's kind of parodying,
like Fritz Lang's Metropolis?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Like when they did, I always loved this when they did Spider-Man. Was it Bring on the Dark?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've got the soundtrack for it. Yeah.
Yeah, so we thought it'd be funny that, because he's avoiding drawing, and that's what he's, like, for me, that's been my love, that's my passion, even out of, how much time I spend on Turtle stuff now. 90% of my time working on Turtle stuff is all directly with IDW and the Turtle comic series. That's
right.
My original love, my original passion. That's what I want to do since I was 9 years old. So that'll always been my first love. And so I just wondered, like, if Shane's setting all these things up as keeping him from his first love, whether he's scared of it or
right.
he just can't get his mojo back. I think he's lost his edge and that kind of stuff. So I thought it was a fantastic sort of watching this character being put through the paces, like, a quest to sort of find himself again and find out why he's not drawing and why he's doing that. So he's got this Scottish rock band called Glasgow, which we made up, and they're writing the soundtrack for the stage play.
For the stage, well, you too did some of the stuff for Turn Off the Dark or whatever. So, yeah, that's great. I'll tell you, I've got to get us to a break. When we come back, I want to talk about the Kickstarter specifically, and how much longer it's got to go, and what kind of rewards and stuff to the Kickstarter. This is a project you're doing, but it is a Kickstarter, so people can get in on this right now, which is why I wanted to have you on the show, as soon as possible during the Kickstarter. But I want to tease people. Here's what the Kickstarter. Here's how the Kickstarter describes Drawing Blood. You ready for this, Stuart?
Hit me.
Okay. A roller coaster of showbiz and sex, fame and infamy, controlled substances and uncontrolled artists, genius and goons. This series takes you into the darkest corners of a mad world, only talked about in the hotel bars of a Comic-Con. Wow. Yeah.
So that's it, man. It's all out there, and it's like I said, there's so much of the material is based on
that is fantastic.
Stories I've been told or some of the stuff I experienced, but
that is fantastic.
It's all there, but we've added a lot of edge to it. I think it makes it interesting to run it, put a character through some pretty dramatic. Comedic, so it's sort of a dark comedy, but put them through the paces.
Well, dark comedy is one of my favorite genres. So let me do this. Let me get us to a break. So we'll come back. We have enough time to tell people about the Kickstarter so that you can get this thing made. But some goblins are your friends. Game Goblins is Central Arkansas's premier retailer of Magic the Gathering, Warhammer 40K, board games, card games, RPGs, miniatures, and hobby accessories. And if I'm not mistaken, tonight, August 19th, they have an adult game night, so it's open till like 2 a.m. And if people choose to, I think they can take an adult beverage and partake while they're playing their games. But anyway, call Game Goblins at 501-224-GAME or visit them online at GameGoblins.com. That's 501-224-GAME or GameGoblins.com. Conveniently located 1121 South Bowman, right on the corner of Bowman and Canis in West Little Rock. And they're staffed by friendly employees. For all of your gaming needs, I heartily recommend Game Goblins. Make sure to check out their customer loyalty program that rewards you based on your actual purchases. Game Goblins earns your business and keeps it. First-time customers mention Shane Plays and receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Tell them Shane Plays sent you. Hey, we're back on Shane Plays Geek Talk, a journey into things we love. It's both a live talk radio show and a podcast. We are joined by Kevin Eastman. Yes, that Kevin Eastman, co-creator of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and has done other things too. Let's make that clear, but is probably the most known for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But now he's got this really cool project that he's got on Kickstarter right now called Drawing Blood, which is a fictional true story of a comic book professional who, as the Hollywood Reporter put it, Drawing Blood tells the fictional story of a comic book creator whose career peaked far too early and what happened next. So we got about 5 minutes roughly here. Kevin, thanks again for joining. I wanted to, take the last minutes of the show and make sure people know about the Kickstarter. But Stuart had a question about a stretch goal. He said, if you have this stretch goal, he's in. So what was it, Stuart?
Alan Moore stories.
Is there an Alan Moore chapter? Because he's in.
Simon Beasley.
Well, actually, it's funny because one of Shane's best friend in the series is a guy named Beasley, which oddly resembles Simon Beasley, and he's sort of like if you think of that Hunter S. Thompson sort of aspect of where he's always got a partner in crime, and so Beasley's been mine in real life. But I love that Simon and I've had such a wonderful working relationship over the years. But I had to have a character sort of loosely based on Simon. But you'll see. you'll see people that might resemble Alan Moore in this series. I don't know, spoil it.
The guy has an octopus beard, yeah.
Dude's in. Okay. The point is that this is only about 10% of this is directly based on Kevin Eastman's life, as he said before the break. But the majority of it is based on stories that he's heard from or about other comic book professionals.
So some of these comic urban legends we've been hearing may be hammered down and put in a form we can really enjoy.
It's 2:00. It's 2 a.m. in the Comic-Con bar. Libations have flown, and now tongues have gotten loose.
Someone has glued a shot glass to the ceiling.
Yeah, this is the area that this lives. But tell us about the Kickstarter if you want to, Kevin. Like I said, I definitely want to make sure people know how they can get involved with Drawing Blood.
Sure, yeah. I mean, the Kickstarter is just a wonderful opportunity. I love the program. We've been a fan of and supported a number of Kickstarter programs. So I really do think it's a true path to independence, and I just love what they've been able to do. And creators that just wouldn't have a voice or have an opportunity to get their word out there. But it reminded me so much of, like, I referenced earlier, sort of our own mini version of crowdfunding back in 1983 was we borrowed some money from an uncle, a couple of family members, cleaned out our bank accounts to self-fund a project that was truly independent. It was the only boss that we had was, in the case of the Turtles, was Peter and I. And so with Drawing Blood, co-creator David Avalone and I came up with the concept, the foundation, the world of Shane Bookman and his story, this place, the paces we want to put him through. And then we enlisted this awesome artist, fellow Mainer. I grew up in Maine. Ben Bishop is the main series artist, but I'll be doing a couple pages of the flashbacks because you see sort of Shane's humblest beginnings to where he is now as it's sort of reflected there. And then we're working with we're working on one of the stretch goals we have at the Kickstarter. If we reach our first goal of 75,000, I think we're around 54,000 right now with 12 days to go. If we hit the 75, what we're going to try to push for on the final stretch goal is we're bringing in Troy Little from who did the Fear and Loathing book for IDW. He's an amazing Canadian artist. We're going to recreate the original 1992 radically rearranged Ronald Ragdoll's comic.
Oh, nice. With its own art style and everything. Okay.
Yeah. You see, if you know Troy's work, he's fantastic, and I really wanted him to do the series. So the Kickstarter, it brings me back to a completely independent world. We don't have a publisher assigned to the project yet. It's designed to be self-published. It's an idea that David and I had the vision for. We brought in the artists that we specifically wanted to work with to bring it to life. But part of the Kickstarter, you can do everything from, because it'll be the first volume would be 4 issues. Hopefully, then we get the Ragdolls as the 5th issue. That gives you the first trade paperback. You can get also a digital version, so there's $5 levels, $10 levels for just digital.
Well, yeah, that's one thing I want to mention really quick. You can get the entire graphic novel for $10 digitally. So at $10 tier, you can get the entire thing, and then anything over $10, you actually get a physical copy of the graphic novel.
And you can get signed versions, unsigned version, one with a Ben cover. I'm doing an exclusive cover, and actually I've got a kind of a cool exclusive I'll tell you about right now. As I just finished last night, one of the variant covers we're going to be doing is this little. You guys might have heard of him, this director Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Yeah. Hey, by the way, we got about 30 seconds, so go ahead. I don't want to completely cut you off, but we're coming to a close. But go ahead and tell us about that real quick.
Yeah, no, just one of the stretch goals, of many stretch goals on it. There's lots of great Turtle products, exclusive stuff, original covers, that kind of thing. But one of the variants we're going to announce next week as we head to the final week is a lot of people don't know Robert Rodriguez is a fantastic artist as well as a fantastic director. We did a Turtles cover a couple years ago for the 30th anniversary. But Robert, I just finished a pencil piece that Robert's going to be doing the final inking on.
All right, Kevin, I got to wrap us up there.
Okay, we have 2 shields now. Sure.
No, I get 1 shield, I get 1 shield.
Isn't it getting too late? No, come on. Sure. Okay, my monk paladin's going on.
Yeah, paladin monk. Right, wrong, forget
Sure.
it.
What's wrong with the paladin monk?
Go
It's in the
home,
rules.
Mikey, we don't like it.
This is my home.
I'm sorry. Get out then.
What does he have now? Plate mail, huh?
No,
Shane Plays Radio is blessed to have sponsors, and we appreciate them very much. However, did you know that you can also support the show as an individual for as little as $1 an episode? Simply go to patreon.com/ShanePlays.